All right. Got another episode of Movies in Minutes. This week my guest is my longtime friend Scott. I'm not going
Hello.
to say your last name. I haven't done that for anybody up till now just because in case they don't want me to. Um Scott and I have lived together. We've been friends. We've worked together. I trust his opinion on movies about as much as I trust anybody's. Scott, first thing I always ask people when I have them on before we get going on any of the new movies we're going to talk about, what kind of movies do you like? Just so everybody else has an idea, maybe where your interests are or your biases are, or things like that.
I am a huge fan of comedy movies, and I love those really cheesy action movies like The Expendables
Ooh,
types.
yeah. How about when they mix those things like The Man from Toronto?
Uh, I really enjoy that, probably because I grew up watching Jackie Chan movies.
Mhm. But also Kevin Hart and Woody Harrelson.
I mean, I will always watch Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart is very funny.
Yes.
So we got comedies, we got cheesy action. Okay, trying to think if that factors into anything that we're going to talk about. I mean, comedy for sure. I don't think there's any cheesy action this week though. If there is in the near future, I will let you know though, so you can keep an eye on it for yourself for things that you might want to watch. Um, what was the first movie I sent you a trailer for this week?
Oh, what was that called?
It's always
It was the DreamWorks movie.
Yes, it was in fact one of those things.
It's the only movie's name I don't remember. It looked interesting. It was some girl's name and then something about Kraken.
All right. Well, then I'll give you a reminder. It was Ruby Gillman, the Teenage Kraken, and it was you're right. It was a DreamWorks movie. So, who's DreamWorks? We got like Shrek. Is probably the biggest DreamWorks thing I can think of, but plenty of other DreamWorks stuff out there.
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yes, How to Train Your Dragon. Probably some others, but those are definitely two of the big ones. All right, so the trailer's name didn't stick with you, but what kind of feeling did you get as far as like what did you think it was about based on what you saw?
It looked like it was one of those coming of age movies, but instead of the usual, it's a mermaid or a princess or something like that, it's about a girl that is like a kraken, which is normally associated with being bad.
Yeah. And I mean, did you get a sense for where you thought like the movie went? I mean, the coming of age thing is definitely like a good start. Especially like even with just like a name like teenage like something like like okay, well we know that there's some kind of growing going on here. In this case, it might be literal, but
no, it looked like it. On the surface, it looks just like a really fun movie about a girl trying to find herself in a world where she doesn't really fit in, but wants to. So, deeper than that, I'm going to assume it's probably going to be one of those, like, you don't need to fit in because unique is kind of better than conformity.
There's that. I think one of the other takeaways that I got actually from seeing it was that it was like a very strong allegory with just puberty in general. So, you're a teen, your body's going through changes, things like that. But, it kept leading to like turning into a big giant monster and not really talking about the things that maybe a girl or a boy would go through. But that same age, that same like awkwardness, stress that comes with that stuff, just through like a lens that they could convey it to almost anybody. They wouldn't have to get too awkward with it.
Yeah, two things definitely stood out to me in the trailer itself. The first and biggest one being the fact that looks like mermaids are going to be the villains.
Kind of, yeah. Because there's that whole stereotype that mermaids are like beautiful, they're attractive, they like draw people in, and that happens a lot, especially with. I think they almost knew intentionally they were going to let this one come out after the new Little Mermaid. because there's that like
Exactly what I thought.
yeah. And that's a good takeaway because that is sort of the case. There's like sort of a sea rivalry between the mermaids and the Krakens in this movie, and the Krakens are the good guys and the mermaids are the bad guys. It's kind of like a fake news thing. Like, the mermaids made everybody think the Krakens are bad, but really we're protectors of the sea more than anything. What and I mean this is more like a you specific thing. I know that this one doesn't necessarily fit into the genres that you gave me. I mean, it's definitely got like funny stuff because it's a kids movie, but maybe instead of asking you if this is something that you think you would go see yourself, because that is often like where I kind of lead to with some of these things. You've got some life changes happening soon that may start to affect the type of movies that you go watch. Maybe not right away, but in the future at some point. Do you think that this is something that you might go see as like a family movie?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay. That's a really good way to like for me to give that to you because I feel like, there are multiple reasons to go see a movie and it's not necessarily always like 100% like the things that we like. I mean, you don't want to sit down for something that you're not going to like, but maybe you've got somebody else in mind. So
Mhm. It definitely looked like one of the kids' movies that adults are gonna enjoy. Like, there was a part in the trailer where she was talking to the dude with this unnecessarily large afro, and
yeah.
he was like, "Hey, are we still on for tutoring?" And she was like, "Oh, absolutely, you're my algebra bae," and he was like, "What was that?" It was like algebra, brother for algebra, like you're algebra. It's just like I think I liked the first one more and walked away. I just that one tickled me. I remember it from the trailer.
Yep, and it's definitely he's definitely the love interest. So there's more of that, and it's kind of cool because there's kind of a little flip dynamic there too, with who pursues who. This movie is definitely I will say this, and I don't mean this in any kind of like way to make people, feel like we're talking down or anything, but I will say that this is definitely one of the more progressive, like newer kids movies that you'll see because there's a lot of like inclusion of other like, types of people that you might not have seen in a kids movie when we were growing up. You know what I mean? And it's starting to feel less and less like beat you over the head. It's more just like this is the world that we live in. So just, hey, these are all different types of people that you would run into in high school now.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it didn't seem like it was one of those ones like there's some that like push, but it natural. It's like an amazing movie. Like I don't have my child here yet, but I saw the trailer and was like, I kind of want to go see that.
Well, and that's kind of funny some point too where it's less, but I get to use my kid as the excuse to go say about like seeing a kid's movie, but I want to go myself.
Yeah.
So that being the case though, because this will probably be something that you have access to either before that or at just about the time that you have a child. So you're not going to be really running to movies probably for a while after that, I would think. Do you think that this is something that you would watch if you could see it at home?
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Okay.
Especially it's DreamWorks too. Like I'm not big into animated, but I do like DreamWorks animated.
I think something like this would probably hit Peacock, but I could be wrong. I don't know if there's a different because I off the top of my head, it's not coming to me who DreamWorks is most closely associated with in terms of like what the streaming app would be, but I wouldn't be, you know what? I'm almost positive it would be Peacock because that's where Puss in Boots was, the newest Puss in Boots.
So probably.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you saw this on Peacock by like September or sooner. All right. So that was Ruby Gillman. The second movie, I actually think I want to save for last because Full disclosure, we had a little tiny conversation about this one because this one you actually are kind of excited for. So
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather save the hype for that till the end. The third trailer I sent you, do you recall what that was?
It was either Asteroid or Meteorite City, one or the other.
Asteroid City.
Okay.
What did that do for you? What did you think about that movie per the trailer?
Well, first of all, it was a Wes Anderson film.
Yeah, we can definitely preface it with that. Yep, it is 100% a Wes Anderson film.
That one stuck out to me. I can't name any of his movies off the top of my head because I'm not very good with directors like that. But I do.
I mean, you've got like Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou. You've got Darjeeling Limited. Oh, we've got Grand Budapest Hotel. I mean, he's got so many. French Dispatch. I don't know. Go on. But just the fact that this Wes Anderson is a tip off to people in general, I would think, because I feel almost like when you're describing like a movie, like we talk about comedy stuff, it's kind of like a genre thing. What would you classify Asteroid City if you had to put that into a genre slot?
Oh,
don't feel bad. It's almost like a trick question because I think Wes Anderson is almost his own genre, to be honest.
Definitely his own genre. He's kind of like Guy Ritchie, where Guy Ritchie is just like he just does what he wants to do, and it's gonna come out the way it's gonna come.
Kind of, but Guy Ritchie movies at least make a little bit more sense to general audiences. Like, I feel like you're watching and expect the unexpected versus like Guy Revenant with Jake Gyllenhaal, and then before he did the live action Aladdin. Do you know that from the one with Will Smith?
Sorry, you cut out there at the end. What was?
I said, did you know he did the live action Aladdin, the newest one with Will Smith?
Wes Anderson?
No, Guy Ritchie.
Oh no, I didn't know that was a Guy Ritchie film. That might explain why I actually enjoyed it.
Back to Asteroid City, though. What if anything could you glean from that trailer? Like, did you get a sense for what you thought the movie was about?
Not a freaking clue. It's to go to the genre part real quick. It definitely looks like a comedic period piece with a hint of mystery and intrigue.
Okay.
But like it looks like it's a city near a meteorite or an asteroid rather. And it involves aliens potentially. Now.
Yeah. I almost think that this would be the first Wes Anderson film that kind of dips outside of reality, at least in that way. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of his movies that people could argue aren't quite in reality too, but so to give you the counterpoint to this, so Asteroid City is there's a ceremony going on in this place in 1955, and it's kind of centered around a bunch of kids that are coming to this site. They're all like contest winners. They're all like kind of really smart, like science geniusy types. And they never really quite say why it's Asteroid City that got picked for, the location for it. I mean, there is an asteroid, and at one point an alien does come and take the asteroid, and it kind of like throws everybody into like a panic, and they become quarantined. They can't leave because everybody was at this ceremony that watched this alien come down and just kind of like look at everybody, take an asteroid, pose for a picture, and then go back into his ship. And the movie just feels like a parade. It is like a parade of so many famous people. I don't know if you noticed that when you were watching the trailer.
It's like I was able to pick out Margot Robbie. I was able to. I saw Steve Carell I feel like I saw Scarlett Johansson.
Yep.
I saw Willem Dafoe's name. This one's going to be a little bit of a hot take, but it kind of makes me not want to see it. Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks was in it. Who else? We had Adrian Brody. We had I mean, there was like so many names in this thing.
Was a comedian, I think. I haven't seen him in forever in anything. Oh my God, what was his name?
Edward Norton was in it. It's just like it was just like the it's like a billboard of names. There's just so many like people that you like recognize.
Will Arnett. Is that him? Is he in that?
I don't know. I'll have to double check that. If he is, I don't remember what he is. And even if you don't know all their names, there's just a lot of recognizable faces. You saw the new D&D movie?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. I mean, did you see the trailer for that?
Oh yeah.
So the girl that's like the little like horned like tiefling, she's like one of the like the geniuses that wins the contest in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like I picked her out, and I'm just like, where do I know her from? Oh yeah, she was from It and new D&D movie. Why does Tom Hanks make you not want to see this?
I'm just not a big Tom Hanks fan.
Okay.
He's just one of those actors like him, Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise. I don't really like him.
I mean, I'll say this much. He's not the star. I mean, there's a lot of stars in the movie, but he plays the grandfather of the main character's kids, and he's, basically there to pick up the kids, and then he gets quarantined. So he's not exactly like the driving force behind the film. I'd say he's more window dressing than anything. I'm also I'm weirdly like not sure if I remember this right. If it happened, and not that this is supposed to be like a the selling point for the movie, but it just sort of stood out to me. Scarlett Johansson, who I've seen in a ton of things, I believe you see her like fully frontally like naked in this movie. And I just remember thinking to myself, like, I feel like she's a really big actress, and that would not happen normally. But maybe for Wes Anderson,
because I have a friend who, and he is actually a friend. It's not one of those, oh, it's a friend and it's talking about me. I have a friend who is aware of those kinds of scenes for actresses. This would not be the first movie that she would be in that's like that.
I mean, all I can say is it's not something like there are some actresses where like that's happened and you're like prominently aware of it, and like for this one, like it surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear about that until literally just now. I mean, like right. I know in the trailer she made a comment on it, and the guy that she was talking to, which I think was Will Arnett, was
that may have also been Adrian Brody.
Maybe. In the windows when they're talking to each other. I didn't actually expect it to be something that would be in the movie.
I just Brody, but that's the thing about this movie which stands out a little bit too. That I mean, especially for a Wes Anderson movie, it's relatively short. It's an hour and 45 minutes. It doesn't feel short. Like I feel like they give you everything that they need to give you, so it's like just right. So it doesn't like drag on and on. So that was refreshing too. There's also sort of a cool framing device they use in the movie, but I kind of don't want to spoil that for you or for anybody that ends up deciding they want to watch it. Do you think that that's something that you would see?
Potentially. Because I am a fan of Margot Robbie and Scarlett Johansson. And I am also a relatively big Steve Carell fan as well.
Yeah, I think the thing about this movie, outside of that main guy, the one that you see in the window there, which again I'm gonna have to double check. I'm almost almost positive that was Adrian Brody, but I will double check that. Everybody else has screen time, but it's not a ton. Margot Robbie, I can guarantee you, is only in one scene. Steve Carell is peppered in and out because he plays the manager of the hotel that they all end up staying at while they're quarantined. So you kind of see him in and out. But again, yeah, it's just weird. Like a lot of these people that you think would be in it more or carry it more, kind of just do their parts and they move on. Willem Dafoe, same thing. I think he's in it for a solid 5 minutes.
Yeah, his name was really low on the list of people who are in it, so I didn't expect him to be in there long.
I mean, he does a great job for what he's in it for, just not in it very long.
That's because he's Willem Dafoe. I don't think he does anything not good.
Yeah, he's pretty great. He's something of an actor himself. So that brings us to the third movie this week, which what one was that?
You had to ask the name of it.
I mean, it's
I'm
kind of how we.
I know I'm horrible with names. Hang on, I had it in the beginning of the episode too.
It was purposeful. No hard feelings.
No hard. Yes. Oh my god. Every single trailer I've seen for that has just really sold me on that movie.
So sell it to me. What did we have?
Well, we'll start out with the weird, at least from my perspective.
Well, you gotta describe it, because I mean, like me and you know what you're talking about, but everybody else might not.
So that's where I'm going to go with it. So it stars Jennifer Lawrence.
Awesome. And so Hunger Games and X-Men.
Yep. I'm not a big Jennifer Lawrence. To be honest with you, those are the only two movies off the top of my head that I can tell you she was in.
I mean, that was like 3 and 3 technically for her filmography. It's like 3 X-Men films and 3 Hunger Games. Maybe we're going maybe 4, because they broke that last one up into 2 parts, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And then
but
another one.
Watch the first one.
Yeah.
So I don't know her from a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She looks like she just nails the super confident but equally as awkward female protagonist. And it's from what I got from the trailer is I'm trying to think of a PG way to word this.
Well, maybe we go into it with what leads her to what she ends up being. So if I remember the trailer right, it definitely starts the exact same way the movie does, and it's about like her being like an Uber driver.
Yeah, and then she loses the car for one reason or
yeah. And I mean, you can't really Uber drive if you don't have the car.
Right.
So you start trying to figure out, how do I get a car again, or my car again, or something.
And so she looks like she's gonna start escorting some people.
Some people, okay.
Very particularly what I can describe as the most awkward man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And because you have super confident to the point where it makes things awkward with a person who is the dictionary definition of the word awkward. It's just a formula for like cringing at how awkward situations are. It's just, it looks like it's going to be one of those movies where you just fall out of your seat laughing.
Okay. I mean, what do we think? The end goal for this is, like, does she get the car back? Is there? I mean, like, where do you think that it leads, or what are you hoping for that it's making you excited about this movie?
So I feel like there's definitely 2 end goals. Each each protagonist, Jennifer Lawrence's character, and then the dude whose name I don't know. Jennifer Lawrence's character's end goal definitely going to be getting her car back, but I feel like she's going to learn some humility along the way. Although, in all honesty, I kind of like when movies don't do that. So I hope all that happens is she gets her car back. Like, I just want her to get her car back and just static character, no change. Him, I hope that he earns something at least out of it and can bust out of his shell. Kind of like, he kind of reminded me of that character. I don't remember the actor who played him. It's been so long since I've seen it, but Orange County.
I was really hoping that. So there's another movie that I'm going to compare this to when you're done. But I was really hoping you were going to guess it, but no. I mean, yeah, maybe Orange County, but yeah, that's not the one I was thinking.
My mind right off the top of the head because like super awkward. I was thinking. No, because that one doesn't fit it either because he's not that awkward. I was going to go with Kick-Ass.
No.
Where the main character was like super awkward until
coming out of the end of this movie, I almost I wanted to kind of compare it to it felt like a more mature or maybe less like less crazy version of Beth Cooper. You ever see I Love You, Beth Cooper?
Oh my God.
Because it's a very much awkward kid with like the girl that's way out of his league. But the big difference here, and it's not something, it's very obvious to everybody except for maybe the kid himself because he's, not really in the know. She's way older. Jennifer Lawrence is way older than him. I mean, like, I think they say what her actual age in the movie is once, and she's got like 14 years on him. Yeah. So the Uber thing, the car thing, that is definitely like what the start, and there's actually kind of like more to it than that later on. Like you kind of at first think, oh, she's just got like shitty jobs. She actually is trying to get money for a particular thing, and it's a motivating factor for her, and it's a good thing. It's not like anything like tawdry or bad, but it helps her. It helps kind of keep around like hey, I need to get the car to get to things to get the money to like, instead of just like doing it because she's like a floozy or just doesn't care or whatever. So she has a motivating factor, but
okay.
at the same time, and I kind of wrote this in my review for this. She does some bad things, and we don't necessarily like get to the end of the movie and say, wow, she's redeemed for it. Like she's a flawed person. She gets into relationships or does things with some people and then kind of hurts them. And there's not really like in some movies, there would be like some cutesy thing where like, oh, hey, Rob Schneider got all the girls that he like did stuff with and Deuce Bigelow to help him like fix up the house, ha ha ha, cute. There's not always a thing where you set things right with everybody that you encounter. And yeah. But there's plenty of funny. There's definitely cringe. There's definitely some sad, and it kind of makes that like a better movie for that, because there's not kind of like what you said, where like it's better when they don't always tie up all the loose ends or give you the exact loose ends you think you're going to get tied up. This movie doesn't do that, and we're kind of happy for it. I think a lot of people think that a movie like this, they might end up together. Like the people that are trying to date, and then they're like, there's an issue, but eventually it like draws them back together. And I'm not saying they do get together. I'm not saying they don't, but it's just very not typical. And I think that was one of the reasons why I really liked this movie. She meets the kid because she ends up finding an ad on Craigslist, which is part of how this is a movie, not real life, because of how many people that don't use Craigslist anymore.
Yeah.
That two parents are looking to find someone to date their son who is going to Princeton in the fall and just hasn't come out of his shell. And they like the dad, who was actually played by Matthew Broderick, like ends up saying to her when she's there, like kind of basically interviewing for the job. I was the same as him. And then like I dated somebody before I got to college, and it just like totally like made me ready. And like nobody even knew that I was ever socially inept once I got there. And like that's kind of what he wanted for his son. And we're never 100% clear. She sits there and she asks the parents, so do you want me to date him or date him? Date his brains out. Okay, that sounds like one thing, but maybe they mean something else.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really want to give too much away. I think it's a really fun, funny movie. It's probably one of the better comedies that have come out this year. I don't know if it's something that people would rush to the theater to go see, especially with all the other choices they've got for big screen things at the moment.
I'm not gonna lie, like it is. I kind of want to bring Mariah. I want to bring her with me. I want to go see this movie in theaters.
I mean, my best recommendation for you is, I don't know what I know you got your like sort of your like hiatus for a week or two. Every Wednesday, Rome does $5 movies all day. Doesn't matter what time of day, what time, what type. So that might be a cheap like date night on a Wednesday sometime in the next 2 weeks.
I do like the Rome Theater.
I don't mind it, especially if you're getting two people in for $10.
Yeah.
In 2023. I don't really think I have to ask you whether or not you want to go see this, as you just expressed an interest, and you had already expressed an interest. And it's cool that you kind of sound like you'd go see it in the theater. I don't always say this on this show, but I mean, my big ultimate goal is to try to get more people to theater. But at the same time, I understand the type of world that we live in, and it's not viable for everybody, and it's not financially feasible for everybody. So, but I'm always happy when there's something that like gives somebody that desire to want to go. Is there anything else movie-wise that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, there's two actually, two real big ones. I'll start with probably technically the bigger movie for everybody else, but it's not as big for me, especially after the fourth one. The Dial of Destiny. I am an Indiana Jones fan, and I'm excited for that. The end of this month, I think it is.
It is this week. Like
this week is the end of the.
Yeah. I have to go on record, which is very hilarious for me, but I get a lot of the cringy faces, or like the shock faces. I say this for a lot of classic films. I have never seen a single Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. But by the time Dial comes out, I will have watched the other four.
There is no need to see the Crystal Skull.
For the sake of being unbiased, I have to.
Oh, that's fair.
Yep.
I won't say any more then.
Yeah, I've lived in the world. I understand that the general consensus is that, like, I don't know, the Crystal Skull is, I don't know, what could I equate it to? Is like the room of Indiana Jones movies.
It's like the Dragon Ball Evolution of Indiana Jones movies.
Oh, I do like Dragon Ball Evolution. The look on your face. Oh, man. What was the second movie?
Expendables 4.
Didn't even realize it was coming out. There's another franchise I've never seen. We'll get there though. There's one also that's coming out that I think maybe, like, I don't know if you know about it or if you've ever seen them. I mean, if you like Expendables or other action movies, you might have. Equalizer is getting a third movie this year.
That I forgot that was this year. I own them both. Have never watched either of them.
Neither have I. But I like Denzel, and so I'm sure I'll binge those the week that it comes out, before it comes out.
I've heard that they're John Wick-esque.
It seems that way, except for they probably came out before John Wick, yeah, or at the very least the same time.
With how many John Wicks there are now, and with how young Keanu looked,
I think that first John Wick was probably like 2015.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, it's got to have been earlier than that.
Well, we're at 23 for the one that came out this year. The one before it, I think, was like 3 years before it. So that one would have been like 2020.
Hang on, I got to look at it. I got to cheat on this one.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, we also talked about John Wick 4 on this show, and this was another.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. What's that?
2014.
Pretty close. Yep. That was another one where I binged those 3 the week of John Wick 4. It's kind of, that's just kind of my thing now. Like, instead of like slowly going back and watching stuff at some point, if there's a sequel, there's the time. Whew. The week of Fast and Furious. Ooh. I was nowhere to be found. Binged 9 movies in 3 days.
That's another series I've never really seen.
Yeah, they started strong. The middle was okay, and then the back half is pretty ridiculous. The newest one was pretty good though, but mostly because of the villain. Because the heroes don't really do anything a whole lot different. But Jason Momoa is as playing basically the Joker, was pretty great. Crazy sociopath.
I think the only 2 Fast and Furious movies I've ever seen are 5, which I didn't technically go out of my way to watch. It just happened playing where I was. And then the one you and I saw, Hobbs and Shaw.
I didn't even count that one. That's a spinoff. I did not watch that in my lead up to Fast 10. But yeah, I mean, it is technically a Fast and Furious universe film. So
I am a fan of Jason Statham. So
yeah, and they're both they were both folded back into the movies in number 10. They were both in them. But just not together. So who knows? We'll never get another Hobbs and Shaw. But all right, buddy. Well, I've enjoyed having you on. Thank you for watching those and talking about those movies with me. And obviously, when you get around to seeing No Hard Feelings, you let me know what you thought of it.
I will.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, we'll catch you again on Movies and Minutes.